Good afternoon, friends. I just wanted to update you on a story I did a little over a week ago about the 15 and 13-year-old urban youth ladies that decided to carjack a Pakistani Uber Eats driver and end up killing him. Well, guess what? They're never going to see the inside of a jail. Daily Mail. Two teen girls accused of carjacking and killing Uber Eats driver in Washington, D.C. reach plea deal ensuring that they will not be held past the age of 21 or go to prison. Ever. Two girls, aged 13 and 15, who were charged with the murder and carjacking of Muhammad Anwar, 66, in Washington, D.C., have reportedly reached a plea deal. On Monday, the teens are said to have reached the deal with prosecutors that would ensure they won't be held past the age of 21 nor be placed in a prison facility. Ever. Anwar died when police said the girls, armed with a taser, sped off in his car as he clung to the driver's side with the door open and crashed seconds later. I posted the video in my original story. They did it. There's no doubt. They're on video doing it. Now, generally speaking, I get it. Minors, you don't want minors charged as an adult, and the idea of sending a 13-year-old to prison seems kind of crazy. But that's why you hold them till they're 18 and then send them to prison. These two girls murdered a man while in the process of committing a crime. For an adult, that would be a capital murder charge. Capital murder is either death penalty or life in prison with no parole. What they did is the equivalent of walking into a store legally. It is the legal equivalent of walking into a store to rob it and shooting the clerk in the head. And for that, you would either expect the death penalty or life in prison without parole. But because they're 15 and 13, and in no small part, I am sure, because the Washington, D.C. District Attorney is in no hurry to handle a case where the defendants are two teenage black females, they have reached a deal where essentially in 6 and 8 years respectively, it'll be like it never happened. 6 years, 8 years, free as a bird. I can't even begin to express exactly how disgusted and angry this makes me, but you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me just on the fact that they were minors, but given that it happened in D.C. and that the political climate in D.C. is not about sending black people to jail, and it ain't about prosecuting black crime, and you know, this does not surprise me a bit. These two girls murdered a man on camera. On camera. And in 6 and 8 years, it'll be like it never happened. That is the product of 40 years of collective racial guilt. Well, okay, no, let me back up. The fact that people aren't going nuts in the streets over it is the product of 40 years of collective racial guilt on the part of the majority population in the United States. The fact that it's happening, I would be willing to bet, and I'm probably just being cynical, but I would be willing to bet it has a hell of a lot more to do with how they look than their age. And don't get me wrong, I'm conflicted on this one because I'm not generally in favor of sentencing teens like adults, generally. But when it comes to murder, you know what? All bets are off. Murder while in the commission of another crime, I got no sympathy for you. I got zero sympathy for you. I have zero sympathy for a 15-year-old who wants to carjack somebody. I got zero sympathy for a 13-year-old who thinks hanging out with a 15-year-old while she's carjacking people is a good idea. At the very least, it should be juvie and then 20 years in prison, no parole once they reach 18. But that's my opinion. You can have yours. But the girls I reported on last week, never going to see the inside of a jail, and that's what America has become. If you like what I do, subscribe, hit the like button, share the video on your social media, tell your friends, leave a comment, and I'll keep bringing you the news.